United States President Barack Obama's visit to the Philippines back in April 28 was a very significant one, wherein it made him the 7th U.S. sitting president to visit the country in 2003.
The U.S. President's two-day state visit was well long expected, given the current situation that needed to be addressed, with the Philippines currently at odds with China due to territorial disputes over the South China Sea. Which brings us to our main subject, what many have said was the well-known result of the said state visit, the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA.
Pwede ba explain yun? Kasi malalim Tagalog yun eh.
EDCA? What is EDCA?
Just hours before President Obama's visit, both countries signed the EDCA. The new 10-year agreement was signed by National Defense Secretary Voltaire Gazmin and U.S. Ambassador Philip Goldberg. The gist of the agreement was that it was a military deal that helps boost the defense capabilities of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, and allows American troops wider access to military bases in the country. However, it neither allows Washington to construct a permanent base nor bring in nuclear weapons. The deal caused a bit of a stir with the Filipino people and with a number of lawmakers in the government due to fears of what this deal may bring. With growing tensions against China, questions of how will this be beneficial to the government and its people, whether it is constitutional, and if the Philippines got the good end of the deal were being thrown about. On paper, it states that the EDCA is an arrangement between the Philippines and the United States, which is envisioned to advance the implementation of the Philippine-U.S. Mutual Defense Treaty. To simply put it, this deal allows a further strengthening of the Philippines' capabilities for external and territorial defense by continuing to collaborate with the U.S. in line with the 1987 Constitution. Representative Henry Ominal of the 2nd District of Misamis Occidental sees it to be an agreement that would help in upgrading the country's defense forces while safeguarding its sovereignty.
Also, one way or another, upgrading the capability of armed forces. No? And in the agreement, there are also provisions there that protects the sovereignty of our country. And I believe since the agreement has been signed by our president, it passed through already to the legal review of our executive branch, and it has also it has able to get also the inputs of our military advisors and the officers of the armed forces of the Philippines.
So what seems to be the issue with so many groups that the Philippines enter this kind of deal with its treaty ally? Militant groups and a number of lawmakers in Congress alike perceive this to be a bit shady, for how the deal was set just hours after President Barack Obama's arrival to the country for the state visit. Was it rushed perhaps? Were the contents of the agreement disclosed to the public for them to totally comprehend what it is all about?
Part of this group, Bayan Muna Representative Nery Colmenares, perceived the deal to be unfavorable for the country, emphasizing that increased presence of foreign troops will be impeaching the Philippines' sovereignty over its territory.
Well, the first problem with EDCA is one, it is an impingement on our sovereignty. Another foreign force coming into the Philippines, establishing bases that we don't have access to. The government is saying we can access that, but the agreement is very clear. It says you can only access the bases the moment the U.S. permits you to access it depending on security and operational requirements. Very clear in the EDCA.
The social ills that may ensue potentially include an uneven justice system where U.S. troops would not be placed into custody and tried for the crimes that they commit in the country. The United States also would supposedly not have to pay the same rate of taxes that the Filipino citizens do.
The justice system is in favor of the U.S. If you commit rape here, you have no custody if the U.S. asks for the custody of the accused. So even our justice system is compromised. An equal agreement. Look, when they come over here, they will use electricity and they will not pay VAT. Like all Filipinos pay VAT for electricity, but the Americans will not. The EDCA agreement says that the rates that the U.S. will pay for public utilities like water, electricity, should be lower than what is being paid by the Filipino people. So what kind of an agreement is that?
Colmenares further added that coinciding with all the mentioned unequal terms, the threat of being attacked by enemies of the U.S. is a possibility, for the country will be technically harboring their bases, troops, and equipment.
This will be magnets for attack. You see, the United States has a lot of enemies around the world. What if it goes to war against Russia? On the issue of Ukraine. What if it goes to war on Syria? Then all the enemies of the United States will consider us as a legitimate target. Why? Because we host their bases here. So if these bases and troops are deployed to, say, Russia or Syria or wherever, of course the opponent of the United States will say, where did these troops come from? Where did these planes come from? From the Philippines. So we become part of the war which we know nothing about.
So how was such a deal made? Given the supposed terms and conditions of the agreement, it does look like the Philippines is getting the bad end of the deal. China's aggressive pursuit in acquiring disputed territories in the South China Sea is considered to be the main reason why such a deal was sought out for. Others would have preferred an arbitral way to handle the territorial dispute against China, so as to potentially avoid upsetting other nations by establishing bilateral relations with the United States.
The claim of China is baseless. Its 9-dash line has no factual or legal basis at all. We should file an arbitral proceedings against China. If China believes that it has evidence, then go to court. So it's correct for government to go to the arbitral tribunal.
There is one thing we haven't touched on just yet. What do the regular citizens of the Philippines think? Is the deal to their liking? Did it address the worries on having to handle the aggressor in this fight alone?
Tapos yung agreement naman between American and Filipino, tingin ko okay naman siya kasi kahit na may fast na about dun sa mga nangyari na mga parang yung sex slaves, mga ganon. Tingin ko yung agreement nila mas makakatulong kasi nga diba sa China, talo tayo doon, mga ganon.
Actually, para sa akin kasi may mga tito kung in line with mga Navy ganon. Actually, okay lang. Kasi nakaka-add yun ng mga experiences nila eh. And besides, ang Amerika kasi they are high-tech, di ba? So, tayo kasi medyo lousy tayo when it comes to high technology. So, parang nakakapagbigay sila ng additional knowledge, especially in terms of military exercises. So, it's okay.
Meron siyang maganda at hindi rin magandang maidudulot. Yung magandang maidudulot doon, yung natutulungan rin tayo. So, halimbawa, pag nagtitraining yung mga armed forces natin, marine, tinutulungan nila. Pero ang hindi magandang advantage din doon, hindi natin namamalayan, baka abuso na. Saka hindi rin natin alam kung ano nakapaloob dun sa EDCA. Kaya, sana wag naman mangyari yung ganun.
Given thought to these individuals' statements toward the EDCA, it seems that the deal itself has built a good reputation with Filipinos, enough for a number of individuals to accept the signing of the deal, though with a bit of apprehension. As for its constitutionality, lawmakers are set to study and question in court the legality of it if need be. With its contents having yet to be disclosed by the government to the public and its peers, it seems that would have to be the case to make sure complete transparency is achieved. Perhaps if the administration would have let a number of lawmakers be involved in it, then throwing about accusations of lax management, of coming up with an agreement and questions of constitutionality would not have come about. But one thing is for sure, Filipinos can only be the ones who can stand up for the country's best interests. Can we really just stand by and let others do part of our responsibility over a deal that supposedly takes advantage over the Philippines? At this point, it would be best to first get a total understanding for what the EDCA really is, and what the deal may bring about for the country once the details have been fully revealed, before speculating on it any further. For GNN SONA 2014, I'm Brian Domingo.